Hi, Claudine. How are you doing?
Very good to see you.
Yeah, we had a very short, interesting time in Peru when I met you for the first time.
Very short, but very significant.
Yes. How many years you spent in Peru?
On and off, all my life. The first time that I went to Peru, I was in my mother's belly because my mother was expecting me. So my mom was pregnant of me in Peru. She married my father in Peru. But then I was born in Switzerland. And 2 months later, I was back in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I feel Peru is very, very close to me. It's not something that I can give you reasons or explain to you why. It's just in my heart, Peru is very, very close to me. I feel in a way, I'm not Peruvian, but I feel the Peruvian culture very close to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Like a vibration, sensation.
More. It's like a part of a place that is familiar to me, that I have been there before.
Mm-hmm. So lately, I found one of these interesting places in Peru. It's significant. The name is Aramomuro. Have you heard about this portal?
Yes, Aramomuro, yes.
What do you know about this place?
Well, it's very old, and there's also some stone ruins that are very, very old. But if you ask me about the history of the place, I cannot tell you much about the place. I'm not the person to.
Okay, I know the history about the place.
Okay, so that's good.
Basically, actually, I'm going to, when I talk with Giacomo tonight, eventually,
He's the right person. He's the right person to.
Probably he will know better.
Yeah, he will.
Actually, I heard that there's 3 words, specific words with special vibration, and when you going and facing this rock and pronouncing these specific words, then you'll be able to open this portal to another dimension. And actually, I was inspired with this with the story of one American. He's a researcher, and he was there, and some of these shamans or Peruvians, Native Americans, they gave him these 3 words.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear to facing to different kind of phenomena. I think that I'm prepared to adventure.
The thing here is, Ivan, beyond all this interest, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want to find?
I want to know more about this universe, about me.
Good.
Lately, maybe the last 2 years, I found with myself some awakening, kind of. I've been witnessing different kind of phenomena, predictions of situation, to new stuff, even if I never research or read about this stuff. I just getting knowledge from somewhere who is looks like is true knowledge, but is not my knowledge.
So if I understand, you are experiencing a sort of awakening, and you want to understand more about yourself.
Exactly.
What is going on?
Yeah.
That is what I am going to talk about.
Perfect.
I am going to talk about the inner journey.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, like, most of the people of your guests are going to talk about the cosmic journey in search of the extraterrestrial intelligence. And I am going to talk about the inner journey to find the self and the essence of everything, where all the answers lie.
Yeah, I think if we know more about ourselves, who we are, why we're here, then maybe we'll have more knowledge about the others.
And that is not a guess. That is the correct thing, because in order to know the universe, we need to know ourselves first.
Of course.
Because in human, we are the microcosm.
Yeah.
And as we learn about ourselves and we get to know ourselves, we are going to understand the universe.
Yeah, we'll be very happy to have you in Bulgaria for that. It's very special for me, this conference, because I think that is the first time when that going to happen, something global like that, like this event. Because people who is coming to speak, they will speak from different kind of aspects of the different kind of phenomena. But also
some consciousness, awareness, consciousness on a global scale, not just one country, but all over the world. The same phenomena is starting to happen, and people are starting to have the same questions, and they need answers. And we need to get together in order to cooperate with one another, in order to understand and to also to help the planet. Because right now we're going through such difficult times, not just because of COVID, Ivan. It is because people are so split, and they don't want to come closer. And that is the difficulty.
Yeah.
That is the difficulty. We need to find a way to come closer to one another, to cooperate.
Yeah. There's a lot of religions talking about to love one another, but looks like this is just in the words. But in fact,
I will tell you one thing. It's when all these things about the universe, the reality of the universe starts to come out, there will be less religion and more internal science. Because the science, it's not just physical, but the quantum physics, right, of the multiverse.
And
we're going to realize that there's a lot of religions, and pardon me for saying so, that are it's just belief systems that have been passed on, but they don't really have a root in reality. It's just belief system, and there's a lot of manipulation going on with religion.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about Mauro Vilino?
No.
Oh, he's an extraordinary man. He was a translator for the Vatican Publishing House.
He's still alive?
Oh, yes. He lives in Turin, in Italy. He has written he's separated from the Vatican because he's an expert in Masoretic Hebrew, the old Hebrew. Yeah. And his work was to make sure that the translation from the Hebrew was right in the Christian Bible, that what is it called? St. Paul, Sao Paulo Publishing House, until he said, look, there's so many things that are wrong translated here that I cannot continue doing this work. He translated 17 books for the Vatican. So it's really a knowledgeable person. And what he says, this is his theory. If we would read the Bible just as it is written, we're not going to interpret or metaphor or symbol. We're just going to read it as it is. And we're talking about the Old Testament. It's a copy of the Jewish Bible, and it is a copy of the old Mesopotamian Sumerian texts. So what do we have here? The story of a creation of man from beings that came from space and genetically engineered the human race.
And maybe that's why we have different, like Chinese, Asians, black.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what he's talking. He said, when you talk with him, when you listen to his conferences, he comes and you say, well, that's impossible that the Bible says such a thing. And say, yeah, go to page, chapter, so-and-so. And everything that he talks about is everything in the Bible. He says, the Bible is not a sacred book. It's a book of history. The book of the history of a family, the family of Israel.
Actually, the things I knew, the details about the Bible is some of the most important verses or text that was taken out. And the other thing is translation is not all the time is correct.
No, because since the Bible was brought to for the first time, there's been so many changes depending on which was the Pope and which was the dogma of the time. So they started to tweak and change, and there's been so many changes that you don't have really an original text. Most of the Old Testament is a copy of the Hebrew Bible with modifications to make it Christian, but it's the same. It's the same story.
Lately, I heard a lot of rumors about the creation of the humans. One, people talking about Pleiadians. The other people talking about ancient Samaria.
Yeah, the Sumerians.
Sumerians for
because of the tablets, because of the clay tablets, the stories of the Anunnaki, and that's part of the history of the Sumerians.
Do you have proof knowledge about this, or is it just rumors?
No, look, it's not. It's theories, Ivan.
Yeah, theories.
Nobody can prove it yet. There is a lot of investigation and research going on, and the more that we find archaeological, like tablets, and we can start to unravel that history. But a lot of our history is being kept away from us. That is not being we're not being told the truth about our past. Because it would break everything down. All the theories of history theories and archaeology theories, they would all collapse because everything is wrong.
And that will be a huge confusion of all nations.
It might start as a confusion, but then at some point, nations will have to admit that what we have believed in was wrong, and we need to make a change if we want to survive. Because it is about the survival of the human race. So we have all these different, I am going to call them non-terrestrial intelligences. I'm not going to talk about aliens and ETs, right? That's Disneyland. Disneyland. I am going to talk about non-terrestrial intelligence that are observing our process. And if they're really that advanced and they're benefic, they're not going to intervene in our problems. It's just as if we are observing some very, primitive folk, we're not going to go and intervene in their problems. But as anthropologists, we would observe and watch how they evolve. But there are so many different races because, as you know, the universe is so large. When we start to look how many stars we have just in our galaxy.
I have a book from Clifford, the book of the races of aliens or extraterrestrials.
Yes.
So in that book, there's images, kind of, for creatures. Okay, no extraterrestrials, creatures. Creatures who was observed of different areas in the globe, different countries, different times. And when I read all this information, which year, where that creature was saw, I just, because it's between the reality and fiction, it is not easy to accept that is really real.
Well, the question here is, what is reality?
Yeah.
And how do we as human beings perceive reality? It starts there, because what we think is reality is not really reality, because our senses and our instruments of perception are not complete. We cannot, for example, we cannot hear all the sounds like dogs can hear. We cannot see all the colors of the spectrum. We cannot, there's so many things that are limited in our human perception. What is mental, right? What is really physical? We cannot say, because if there is an advanced civilization that has some form of projection, like holograms that are very, very developed, it can also look, it could look physical, and it's not physical, it's just a projection. But us, we are so limited. We think that the human race is so advanced, and we're still so primitive.
Mm-hmm.
We have no context in order to understand something that comes from outside our planet. There's no way. There's no way to understand that. So people just say what they think they saw or they think they perceived. But that's all they can say.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So how does that help us? How does that help us to know ourselves better?
Actually, now I'm going in the beginning when we start this conversation about the consciousness, because in your question right now, we don't know the answers. But if we consciously get knowledge about us and everything around us, maybe not everything, but most of the things, then maybe we'll have answer the question what we can see, and if the things we see, it's a real or not real, or
Correct.
or
Correct.
they're from our dimension, or
for that we need another internal tool that we need to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have developed very little of our mental potential. And I'm not talking just the brain, because
yes.
the brain is the hardware.
Yeah.
The real thing is the mind, which is so plastic and so, so much potential. And then to add that, you have awareness and consciousness, which is superior than the mind.
Yes.
But first of that, we have to start to understand ourselves. And it's correct, Ivan, when we start to have control over our own mind, right? Not just conscious mind, but the unconscious mind.
Yeah, I understand
and everything that is happening, we will start to understand the difference in what is real and what is not real.
Yeah, I'm completely agree with you. So scientists say that we're using 4 or 10 or 15% of our brain.
10%.
10%. But actually, I think that is not the case. The case is about the conscious. Because I think, according to my understanding, the conscious is more than, conscious is universe. The conscious is...
Yes. The consciousness, and let's talk about pure consciousness.
Yeah.
Pure consciousness is everything.
Yeah.
Everything. The universe is conscious. The planet is conscious. The leaves of the trees are conscious. The ground, everything is conscious. This planet is conscious. It's a different body,
Mm-hmm.
but consciousness is the same. So consciousness is what underlies everything. And this is where science is still stuck. Because science thinks that it's the brain that produces consciousness. And that is wrong.
Yes.
I tell you that is wrong. It is consciousness that manifests matter. Because if we think about something with precision and with focus, we can manifest things. So don't tell me that the brain is manifesting consciousness. If consciousness can manifest a disease, can heal, can make so many things manifest, it's consciousness. That's the center of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're human, if we're animals or plants, or if we are non-terrestrial, there's some form of consciousness in all of us that we share.
Yeah, definitely we have great potentials, but we have to discover it.
Yes.
One of the scriptures says that we can be a gods. We can create worlds. We can.
What scripture is that?
From Mormonism.
Okay.
It's about the power of. Actually, lately I start make some connections between intention and faith. I think this is the same thing. Because with
not really. I mean, I'm going to explain to you. There is a faith that is a blind faith.
No, I'm not talking about this.
Okay, and the other faith is let me for example, I tell you, touch your face, Ivan, touch your face. Can you feel your face? Now
Yeah.
feel the air that is coming in and out of your nose.
Yes.
See your eyes, feel your eyes. Feel your body. Right? Can you feel your body?
Yeah.
Now, observe your mind.
Oh, you mean to see my body with my conscience, or what do you mean?
Yeah, just be aware. Be aware of your body.
Yeah, of course. I can.
Now, be aware that you are alive.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I think I'm alive. Yeah.
Okay. So that, if I tell you to do that, do you have faith that you can do that?
Not necessary.
Do you have faith that you can feel alive? That you can feel your breath?
No, I have different meaning about faith. Not like that.
But that's the real faith, because if I tell you that, Ivan, and you can feel something, direct experience, you have faith in something that you can experience yourself, which is very different than the kind of faith that somebody comes and says, because the scripture says so, and I am telling you so, you have to believe this. And then you have faith because it is written in the book. It's a different kind of faith.
Maybe it's misunderstanding. I don't mean exactly like that. When I say faith, that means, for me, means like the kids. They can see stuff for certain age, and we adults, we cannot see. But if we have that faith, like, not understanding, but this power to do stuff, like to levitate, to walk in the water, this is possible. To see when you see the tree or leaf or some grass or flower, the faith to listen, to hear, to have communications with all this stuff. That is my meaning about faith. Not because scriptures say your faith.
It's exactly what I'm trying to say. Your faith, Ivan, is based on your experience, because you have seen things, you have experienced things, so you have faith in that. If you were somebody that has nothing to do with this world of consciousness, you don't have faith in the world of consciousness because you have never experienced it.
So when I try to understand the things which they don't have any connections or meaning with our basic understanding for the world, I start thinking from another direction.
Yes.
Because if I'm thinking like a human, I'm not going to have any understanding for this.
Well, that depends what kind of a human, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
If you're trying to think in terms of the materialistic science, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you start to think in terms of your intuition, and you start to think in terms of your higher wisdom,
okay,
and you start to think in terms of your expanded awareness,
yes,
we are in the same page.
Yeah, that I tried to say that.
Yes, there we are. That is correct.
Yes, I'm very happy because maybe because the experiences I have with these changes with happening with me. But I'm very happy when step by step, or I'm opening one door and then I walking and then I opening another door and I can go to another place more deeply. Understanding is growing, or and actually when I say before that if I want to understand better stuff which happening outside of this world, I mean my trying to understanding this phenomena or actions, I can do that by another way, not like the human understanding, maybe like transdimensional, or maybe like how was the word, transcendental understanding. In the you're familiar with the Eastern philosophy about transcendent, if I say that correctly.
I am that is my work. I work with the Vedas, I work with the Upanishads, I work with the very ancient texts.
Yes.
And the teachings.
Yes.
And I don't just study them, I practice them.
Do you think that maybe transcendental world is much more close to our understanding for
Explain to me, what do you mean under transcendental world?
Transcendental for me is meaning something outside of this world.
Outside of your perception of the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Which can be also dimensional or interdimensional.
Okay. Yes.
Something like that.
Yes. Okay.
So if we, the thing I try to say that if I try to understand something, I'm using that way.
I'm going to tell you something, Ivan. If you learn to understand your own self, and you learn to know your many dimensions, you won't have a problem to understand the rest of the universe, because the universe and the human being are built exactly the same. There's layers, and transcendental means more subtle. The physical plane is the most dense, the most gross of levels, yes? But there's more subtle layers and dimensions of consciousness, awareness, states that are more subtle. And what you're trying to say is transcendental, in my language, is called the subtler states of awareness. It's like when we are out here, the only thing that we see is what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. But as we go within, our awareness expands and we can experience the other dimension of the world and the universe.
Yes, understand that. And if I'm correct, if we have all this knowledge or part of that knowledge we're talking about now, maybe we can reorganize the whole elements of our body.
We can.
Or we can reorganize the elements of which is the
everything. Look, the essence of the human being is the true self, the true I am, the self.
Mm-hmm.
If the human being is aware and realizes that self, he is capable of crossing the wall, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
Recognize everything. And it's not about that the self has to grow. It's that we need to remove all the filters that are not allowing us to see the reality within.
Or our brakes we're putting in our mind.
Yes, the brakes, and you know what the filters are? Belief systems, conditioning, emotions, habits, patterns of behavior. Those are all filters. We don't know why we act in a way that we act because we've never studied our unconscious, not through hypnosis, but through self-observation. That is called meditation.
Yeah.
When we learn to do that, then we have unbelievable power, because the power is within us.
I remember when we met in Peru, in Lima, you in Nimer, you talk about your experience doing meditation. And because the first meeting with Nimer, I had a friend, Vanya, if you remember her.
I do, yes.
She was our interpreter in that time when I met Nimer in his house. And if that translation was correct, my understanding was that he said that his family, they have a mission. Because I asked, what exactly is your mission, or what is your dealing with this going somewhere, meeting, make this contact of third or fourth kind of contact? And you been very close together, I mean, like his family, and you and Ronnie and the other guys. What exactly is the mission? Do you know? If you can discover.
I cannot talk about what his mission is and what his family is, because I do not know what is.
Oh, okay.
I know what my purpose is. I know Nimet because we were together as teenagers when Rama mission started.
Okay.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I know for Rama.
Yeah. So you know Sixto Paz.
Yes.
You know Veronica, and that was Charlie.
Yeah. Yes.
So I was a teenager at that time. So I was part of that group that had contact with these beings that contacted
Have
us.
you been one of these 100 people who went to the Chilca, or which desert?
Yes, Chilca.
Sisto Paz talking about this.
Yeah, yes.
How you feel when you're back in this time, in your early age?
I remember one thing that was told to us by these guides, because they told us they were guides, that they said to us, we understand that you're very attracted to the phenomena of the flying objects. It is very attractive to you. So that is why we show ourselves. But your real purpose is to look within.
In yourself.
Yes, seek within. That is the real mission. And when I heard that, I made that my mission. I cannot talk about the mission about other people, because everybody makes their own choices, and he has his family, so I don't know much further. Okay. I can only tell to you what I received as a message. And I have ever since that day, that was in 1977, that I heard that message, and it's ever been my purpose of life.
Can you share that message, or is very personal?
It's what I'm telling you. Look within.
Oh, okay.
Because there's hard times coming. They were already telling us that hard times were coming ahead of us.
We
needed to prepare for that.
Clifford don't call these creatures extraterrestrials. He called them visitors.
Yes.
So these visitors, who are they? From the future?
That is very hard to say, because we don't have the knowledge nor the context to be able to identify. All we can do is listen to what they have to say, right? And they can tell us anything they want to tell us. Now, it's up to you or to me to believe what we're being told. Now, I will tell you that everything that I experienced in the group with Rama was always positive. There was never anything that was either threatening or scary, nothing. It was always positive.
Yeah.
And we didn't see just lights, Ivan. We saw big ships, big crafts. Now, how can I tell you if these crafts were holograms or were physical? How do I know? I was, a teenager at the time. In that time, how could I differentiate the beings that we saw? And you know what? It doesn't really matter. It's not important.
Why in the Western world people scare? They talk about abductions. They talk about experiments with the humans. Why that not happen in the South America?
I have no idea. I would like to know. when we were experiencing Raman, we would go to the desert, and it was a time where there was nothing in the desert, Ivan. We would go with a little bag with a banana and a glass and a bottle of water, and we would take our sleeping bag and a couple of blankets, and we would sleep in the desert. We were children, teenagers.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happened to us. Nothing negative. The first time that I heard about abductions, I was already an adult, and I thought, this is a weird world, because this is nothing compared to the goodness that we experience, especially the friendships that we created amongst ourselves, right? We became good friends.
Let me ask you from another way. Do you think that there's creatures or visitors which is not super friendly with us, or this is just in our imagination to say, yes, they're good and they're bad?
My answer to you is I would be more scared of the human beings right now on the planet Earth. Because if this theory about, extraterrestrials that are so negative, they would have already come here and taken, control of the world a long time ago. If they have that advanced technology, they could do that in a heartbeat. Yes? But that's not happened. And what is the problem that we are having on planet Earth? We're not fighting with extraterrestrial beings. We're fighting with human beings that are fidgeting about stupid things.
Yeah, true.
Right? We don't even have to go into details. I mean, the things that human beings fight about, the things that they do, is just so questionable. What do you think if a ship, a craft would come down to save the human being? As soon as they're on top of the craft, they would start fighting inside the craft. Who gets the better seat?
But actually, I think we had a very good point with this conversation to discover the light in ourselves and to find more about ourselves.
Let me say it a little bit more clear. We don't have light inside.
When it's a metaphor.
No, listen to me. We are light.
Okay.
It's not that we have the light inside. We are the light inside.
Okay.
We are light. We're pure consciousness having a human experience. That's who we are. And our purpose in this life, in this planet or any other planet in the multiverse, is to wake up to that reality. As long as we are ignorant about that reality, we will suffer. And we're suffering because of that, because we are ignorant.
Yeah, that's true. But we have some kind of level. You have different level of mind, of knowledge and awareness than me. But there's people who is more less level than mine about awareness.
I wouldn't call it. It's just the awareness. It's not. Nobody is better than anybody. I'm not better than you, and you're not better than me. We know, and that's why we're friends. We love each other because we recognize one another as equals. It doesn't matter. It's good that people have a different way of looking at things. What makes us rich in knowledge, that we can share these experiences and these knowledge. But there's people that don't know as much, and they want to learn. They want to know more.
Yeah, but some people, they don't care.
No, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. The problem is not the extraterrestrial or non-terrestrial. The problem is the humans that are not wanting to recognize that we're not alone, and they're not, alone on the planet. We're responsible for one another.
So looks like the best thing to start the beginning is to want to know.
It starts with the want. What is it that you want? Yes, that was the question. What do you want?
Exactly.
That's it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want?
Exactly.
What do we want?
What we want from our life.
Wow,
For
it's
us,
such a deep question. It's such a deep question.
Mm-hmm.
Such an important question. My thought is that if I can do it and you can do it, we all can do it.